Just a quick one on that code, because I just want to show you how it's actually written in the Arduino. Now this is all in a manual, so it's just basic, but it's a brief overview. So you basically have the word loop. Then you have int sensor value equals analog read A0 and float voltage equals sensor value star 5/1023. Serial dot print line or ln bracket voltage. Okay, so let me just very quickly go through what that means. Here you're telling it to loop and do these three things. Okay, so it's going to loop doing these three things all the time. What you're telling it first is this int stands for an integer. You're telling it that's into a box called sensor value is going to be an integer. And the integer that you want the computer to put into sensor value is what the computer is reading on its input A0. So it's going to read what's on A0. It will read the voltage and convert it into a number between 0 and 1023. And you're telling it, put that number into a box called sensor value, and I'm telling you that it's going to be an integer, okay? Because it'll always be an integer. You're now telling it that into another box called voltage, you want to put a number that is not an integer. It's called a floating point number, so a decimal number, okay? So you're telling the number that's now going into here is not going to be an integer, it's going to be a decimal number into this box called voltage. And what is going into it is the number that's in sensor value, multiply is star. So take the number in sensor value, multiply it by 5, divide it by 1023. And that's what you're going to put in here into voltage. And then this is telling it to basically send out to the screen, print, and with the ln at the end means it's going to send out to the screen the value that's in voltage. And the ln means it's also going to put in a return, so that it's going to put out the number in voltage, say it's 3 volts, 3.00, and then it's going to do a return. And then it's going to loop again, do all of the same thing again, but now since you've hit return, effectively, this command here is telling it to hit return, it now will print the new value on the next line. It'll return, it'll print the new value on the next line, return. And because you have a loop in here, it's going to keep doing that all the time. But as I mentioned earlier, that's great. We now have coming out onto our computer screen the voltage that's associated with the thermistor temperature. But we need to now be able to convert that voltage into a temperature reading. And we need the formula that's going to convert that voltage into a temperature reading. So we will talk about how to do that next.